When we think about the vestibular system itself and its impact in developmental trauma, it's profound. So let me attack this from many angles, but I'll start somewhere. When you are an infant, 0 to 2, which is where the developmental trauma, and developmental trauma, let me define what that is first. It's any kind of experience that asks us to give up the authentic expression of our self and communication to keep ourselves safe and to preserve the integrity of the relationship. That was a big definition. So we are wired for social connection, and our caregivers are our protectors. And we, as infants, need them. And so the brain is designed to preserve the integrity of that relationship at all cost, really. And the person that is supposed to care for me can become my danger, my source of danger. And so the brain deeply struggles with this incompatible need of resources. I need you to care for me, to soothe me, to see me, to value me, to validate me. And yet, if you're my source of terror, it's exactly like Daniel talked about before and what we were talking about when Nadia said about approach and avoidance. The brain is supposed to do one or the other. What about when it's trying to do both at the same time? Approach my caregiver for security and avoid them because they are my source of fear. Well, what happens is when you are a baby, you can't fight and you can't flight. So what you can do is dissociate. And in that disembodied state where the mind checks out from the body, guess which sensory system is the most hit? The vestibular system. So Bob and I were in Belgium at the European Trauma and Dissociation Conference in March. And we happened to listen. Oh God, Bob, I must be tired. What's her name from Canada? Ruth Lanius. Yes. To Dr. Ruth Lanius, talk about the vestibular system for 90 minutes in kids with developmental trauma. And all of her research that looks at the structures in the brainstem that adapt to horror, emotional horror, and what it unhooks. And it is really the vestibular system that gets hit the most. So the vestibular system doesn't have its own nucleus in, you know how the brain has the occipital cortex for vision and the temporal cortex for language. We don't have a vestibular place in the brain, and that's because vestibular input goes everywhere. And thereby, developmental trauma interrupts everything in the brain. And when we think about what you're talking about, Braylon, around vision, that's one piece of where, in the state of vigilance, when I learn that I need to be in a state of self-protection, the eyes adapt alongside the adaptation in the vestibular system. So the eyes adapt into a prioritization of ambient vision. So the peripheral visual system becomes prioritized. Whenever you and I are in danger, we're being chased by the lion on the savannah. Our focal detail vision is not the priority. And focal detail vision, like I'm going to read a book or, watch a movie on the screen, that type of vision is secondary to where is it? Where am I? Where is the target? Where am I in space? This is all ambient vision. And this comes together with the vestibular system in the superior colliculus, this high above the spinal cord. And if I am stuck in danger, then my eyes become big and open, and my eyebrows stay up, and my eyes get locked in to this position that orients me into ambient peripheral detection, and my flexibility of convergence. See, we are never in divergence or convergence. What we are actually after is the mobility in and out, the range of moving the eyes in and out. We want to be able to increase our convergence. You don't want to be cross-eyed, and to increase our divergence, but be able to stop along the way anywhere so that I can visually fixate at whatever it is that I choose to look at. So if I'm stuck in a particular spot, then I lose that flexibility, and I may not be able to draw on the teaming and the integration of the use of my two eyes, because my brain has learned to prioritize where instead of what, and what is where integrated teaming of the two eyes happens. That was a long answer. So, you think about developmental trauma and its organization of why everything is adaptive. Everything that the brain and the body does is to do the best that I can with what I have. So how do I help? The first thing is to take your mind out of exercise mode and go into relationship mode. Because there's no way that I'm going to ever let go of my adaptation if I don't have felt safety. If I neuroceptively don't feel safe in my being, which comes almost entirely through co-regulation, I will never let go of that strategy that I have acquired to survive independently. I might learn how to do that, vision therapy with you, but I won't keep it if I don't feel safe. So developmental trauma, requires multi-levels of input. It requires regulation through relationship. It requires safety in the body. Flexion is a place where the body feels more safe, typically. And it requires making meaning out of my experiences so that I can develop a sense of ease within my being.